Good morning. My name is Maureen Chung. Welcome to Daily Devotional of July the 26th. The passage is Judges chapter 11, verse 1 to 11, and then verse 28 to 33. The title is God Used a Social Outcast. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior. His father was a Gilead. His mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when they were growing up, they drove Jephthah away. "You are not going to get any inheritance in our family," they said, "because you are the son of another woman." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and settled in the land of Tob, where a gang of scoundrels gathered around him and followed him. Sometime later, when the Ammonites were fighting against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. "Come," they said, "be our commander so we can fight the Ammonites." Jephthah said to them, "Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you are in trouble?" The elders of Gilead said to him, "Nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be head over all of us who live in Gilead." Jephthah answered, "Suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head?" The elders of Gilead replied, "The Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say." So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. The king of Ammon, however, paid no attention to the message Jephthah sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, "If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering." Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith as far as Abel Keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. We meet Jephthah as Israel's judge for the first time. In the past, God used a left-handed oddball, Ehud, to defeat Moab. Then God used a prophetess, Deborah, to defeat Canaan, after which he used an unlikely hero, Gideon, to defeat Midian. Now we see God used a social outcast, Jephthah, to defeat Ammon. Jephthah's leadership ran from 1078 to 1072 BC, a mere 6 years. The introduction begins with these words. "Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord." Judges chapter 10, verse 6. They served many idols from surrounding nations. God became angry and sold them into the hands of the Philistines and Ammonites. The invading Ammonites camped in Gilead on the east side of the river Jordan, while the Israelites camped at Mizpah, which means watchtower. Don't forget that the allotted land to the tribe of Manasseh straddles on both sides of the river Jordan. Now, Judges 11:1 tells us that Jephthah lived in Gilead and he was a mighty warrior. His father's name was Gilead and his mother was a prostitute. But the father's son, by his wife, drove Jephthah away because they didn't want him to share their father's inheritance. Jephthah settled in the land of Tob, where he gathered a group of mercenaries. But when the Ammonites made war on Israel, the elders of Gilead approached Jephthah the mighty warrior, for help, wanting to make him commander to fight the Ammonites. Not only that, but they promised to let Jephthah be the head of all those who lived in Gilead. So Jephthah returned from Tob to Mizpah to be formalized as their leader and commander. This shows that Jephthah was forgiving and generous towards his own people. Jephthah tried to negotiate with the Ammonites. He explained that the disputed territory east of the River Jordan, from the river Arnon to river Jabbok, was captured from the Amorites 300 years ago. God gave this land to the Israelites. That territory never belonged to the Ammonites. However, the king of Ammon never replied. When the Spirit of God came upon Jephthah, he launched an attack at the Ammonites. Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. If you give the Ammonite into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Verse 30 to 31. God gave the Ammonites into his hands. He devastated 20 towns and subdued Ammon. What have I learned? Jephthah was the son of his father and a prostitute. Nobody can select his or her parents. Regardless of how one is conceived, no one is an accident because God let it happen. The value of each soul is the same, and each bears the image of God at creation. God has plans of greatness for each soul he created. Therefore, any feeling of shame is unnecessary. Years ago, to control a ballooning population, China passed a law to allow one child per couple. Chinese traditionally favored boys because they would continue the family bloodline. Hence, a good many girls were given up for adoption. Then the couple could try for a boy. I wonder how these girls would feel once they were left at an orphanage to wait for adoption. The feeling of rejection and shame must have been strong. But in God's plan, they are not extras, but valuable children. I've known Chinese girls who were adopted by Canadian couples to have found success in life. They make their adopted families proud. One notable example is Maggie McNeil on the Canadian swimming team, who holds the world record for 50 meters backstroke set on December 20th, 2021 at the record time of 25.27 seconds. There are many Maggie McNeils in this world who are just as precious in God's eyes. Father in heaven, I pray for all the children who feel they're unwanted and ashamed. They didn't choose their parents, but you, O God, chose them. You are their Father, whom they may or may not know. You love them and have a wonderful plan for them. Let them draw near to your bosom and find solace in you. If any of these precious ones come from families with abusive parents, alcoholic parents, drug additive parents, and emotionally detached parents, hold them close to you, Lord. Surround them with people who exalt them with your matchless love. Let them rejoice in you and celebrate their God-given gifts. Bless them, O Lord, I pray, in Jesus' name. Don't forget one thing, that as God created you, he doesn't make mistake, and he loves you. May God bless you all. Thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow. Please like and subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you.